brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Now it's sippin' time.
Hello and welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. We are the best thing on at 2 a.m. and we thank you for choosing to listen to us instead of Away with Words, discussing how New Jersey legislators passed a resolution as part of an anti-bullying campaign urging dictionary companies to adopt the word upstander. Fantastic choice.
Good job, guys. Doing your job.
Yep. I think we can be slightly more entertaining than that show tonight. Yeah. Well, this is good old boy Mike here at the table. Joining me in the studio is good old boy Jason.
Good to be here.
And good old boy Sparky.
Hello.
And joining us from the Bourbon Mafia is Made Man Bob.
Always a pleasure to be here.
We'll get to hear a little bit more about the Bourbon Mafia at the end of our show today. Well, our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, coffee, and tea. Today's show is all about bonded whiskey. No, it's not quite where your head was going when I said the word bonded, but anyway. So what do we mean when we say the word bottle and bond? Well, back before the 20th century, when a consumer actually bought Bisky.
Bisky?
Bisky?
Toy
gravy.
Bisky with gravy?
More whiskey, table 6, please.
In a bottle.
Yep. We'll try that once again. When a consumer actually bought whiskey, they had no way of knowing what that whiskey actually might contain, as the industry was largely unregulated, so you didn't know always what you were getting. Bob has some more background on our topic of bottle and bond for today.
Well, back in the day, it was a common practice for unscrupulous rectifiers, the guys who would buy bulk whiskey and blend it, to take otherwise unpalatable or immature whiskey and add all manner of ingredients and compounds to alter the taste and to give it the appearance of age. These additives range from the somewhat innocuous, burnt sugar, prune juice, tea, wood chip, simple syrup, to the more shocking, tobacco juice from spittoons, tincture of cochineal, which is the ground insects they used to use to make the dye for the red coats, and to the downright dangerous wood alcohol, iodine, turpentine. It got so bad that producers of legitimate bourbon became concerned that the damage this practice was going to have to the public perception of the industry, so several distillers got together, led by the Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor of E.H. Taylor fame, the owner of the Old Taylor Distillery, and one-time owner of the distillery that eventually became Buffalo Trace, lobbied for the passage of the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897, setting strict standards for production of bonded whiskey, thus providing the consumer with a government guarantee of quality. This act actually predated and helped lead to the eventual passage of the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, so your bourbon was government inspected and approved before your medicine and food was.
So, Jason, so what does that take for whiskey to be labeled, bottled and bond?
Well, to be legally defined as bottled and bond, a whiskey must meet several criteria. It must be the product of one distillation season. It must be the product of one distillery and one distiller. It must have been aged in a federally bonded warehouse under government supervision for a minimum of 4 years. It must have no additives whatsoever. It must be bottled at 100 proof, which is 50% alcohol by volume. The label must identify the distillery by DSP number where it was distilled and, if different, where it was bottled.
So, Sparky, what happened to some of these products over time? Because we don't see them all on the shelf anymore.
Yeah, you don't. Once it was a dominant category in American whiskey, but the designation seemed to fall out of favor over the years, perhaps due to the increased regulation of the food and spirits business and easing of fears of unadulterated products. However, bonded whiskeys have been making a resurgence of late, in large part due to the renaissance of the cocktail. Many of today's high-end mixologists have begun using bonded whiskeys in their concoctions, as the higher proof helps to keep the flavor of the whiskey from being drowned out by all the other ingredients in the cocktail. Rittenhouse Rye is a great example. That gets eaten up by the coasts because the high-end cocktailers just eat that stuff right up. In fact, as a result of this upswing in popularity, some producers have recently begun to introduce new bonded offerings into the market once again. Jim Beam Bonded and Old Forester 1897 are fairly recent additions to the current slate of bonded whiskeys available on the market. Today we have 6 different bonded bourbons to taste from 4 different distilleries. From Heaven Hill, we have Heaven Hill White Label 6-year-old bottled in bond, Evan Williams White Label bottled in bond, and Henry McKenna 10-year single barrel bottled in bond. From Brown Foreman, we have Old Forester 1897, not quite as good as Old Forester 1987. And from Jim Beam, we have Old Tub bottled in bond, a brand only available at the Jim Beam gift shop, or if you know the right people to wink at. And from Buffalo Trace, we have Colonel E.H. Taylor Small Batch bottled in bond. So we're going to be tasting... tasting these whiskeys and rating them with SIPS ratings, plus our signature sounds. Here are those ratings now. SIPS rating 1. Give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth. Patu.
Water. Bring water. Bring water.
Number 2 is nice, but what else do you have?
Well, isn't that nice?
Number 3 is, interesting. What was that again?
Interesting.
4 is, let's keep this a secret to ourselves. Pour me another.
That's classified.
And 5 is, oh my, I was unaware anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness!
Yes! 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 Yes!
Well, thank you all for giving us some great background, as well as the SIPS ratings for today. Some really great products that we have to go over, and a really great topic for us to discuss today. And I've really been looking forward, to this show to get to some of these products, because I think a lot of people are like, bonded whiskey is like a age-old thing, and we've moved way beyond that now. And so I think, as we move through these products today, that hopefully, these will be some products that you want to come back around and try and enjoy. And I agree, they are making its way back in, not only on the shelf, but they're making its way back into being appreciated for what they are and what they bring as well. So it's really great. Well, up first is going to be Evan Williams White Label, bottled in bond from Heaven Hill. Now, there's no age statement, but as it is, the bottle and bond is actually a minimum of 4 years. Now, the mash bill on this is 78% corn, 12% barley, and 10% rye. And Jason and I are both going to review this product as he's wincing. So I'm going to take another swig. I do have some notes about this, but I'm going to let him go first since he refreshed his palate on this.
Well, the initial taste is you get a little bit of that corn taste at first. The color of it is fairly dark for a younger whiskey, but it's all about the aftertaste on this. To me, I taste pure ethanol. It's too young. It's really hot. It burns. I lose a lot of the corn. You get it on the front, but I lose it at the end. It's young for me. I don't know. I gave it a SIPS rating of a 2.
Well, isn't that nice?
Nice, but what else do you have? Well, my own tasting notes here on Evan Williams White Label, bottled in bond from Heaven Hill. I did like the color off this. It was nice and dark. And I'm going to... my entire lexicon is going to be whittled down to about 6 words for this entire show. It's just going to be in a different order each time. It's really sad. It's pathetic. But I wrote down smoky wood. I thought it was fairly solid. It hit kind of a nice middle of the road point. My SIPS rating for the white label is from Evan Williams is a 3.
Interesting.
Interesting. What was that again? Well, we have maybe another minute on this. Anybody else have a quick comment on Evan Williams?
I kind of got almost stringent flavor out of it, and I mean, I would have given it a 2 as well. Jay, I think it's kind of
Well, isn't that nice?
more of a disinfectant than something that I would go for. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a cheaper price point product, so you can't be really, really harsh with it. But, that aftertaste is just a little rough. I mean, I was reaching for my water glass after that one.
I think we hugged for a second too. Didn't you need kind of a little?
I cried a little bit.
It's okay.
There was a tear.
I wasn't judging you at all.
I'm going to let them work this out. While we take a quick break. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about these products for Bottled and Bond. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. On today's episode, we're not discussing dictionary and what we should be adding. I mean, really, who's going to be talking about bullying on the radio for an hour? An hour. I could talk about it for like 30 seconds.
A radio bully.
That's a job.
Howard Stern.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's just something I can't really get into, as a parent. I'm like, seriously, you're not a victim, So, anyway. Hey, today's show on Sips, Suds, and Smokes is not talking about bullying or anything else. We're actually talking about whiskey, far more important topic. You, whiskey and your kids, how to get through bullying. No. So, no, we're actually talking about Bottled and Bond. It's a style of whiskey that we're talking about across several different products today. We've covered one of the 6 products that we're going to cover today. Up next is going to be Heaven Hill White Label. It's a 6-year Bottled and Bond from Heaven Hill. I'll read a brief description on this. This 6-year bonded whiskey from Heaven Hill is generally a Kentucky-only offering. The mash bill on this is 78% corn, 12% barley, and 10% rye. Sparky and Bob are going to cover this, and up first is going to be Bob with his tasting notes on this product.
When you're talking about a good value whiskey, this is one of my favorites. I mean, you generally don't see, you'll see White Label Heaven Hill, but the 6-year you won't see anywhere but Kentucky. And up there, I think I usually pay about $14 a bottle for this. It's a 6-year-old bourbon. It's a good, solid bourbon. It's got a decent color to it. The nose, I get sweet corn and vanilla. On the palate, vanilla, a slight bit of caramel or cocoa, a slight bit of cinnamon in the back. It's a good, for the money, it's a good, solid whiskey. I give it a 3.
Interesting.
Interesting. What was that again? Sparking your tasting notes on Heaven Hill White Label 6-year.
Well, I was really surprised because I came into this just knowing the brands, thinking I was going to like another one of them the best. But honestly, this was my favorite of all the ones that I tried, and I thought it was pretty light. I was kind of surprised as light as it was for a 6-year-old whiskey. Really had kind of a fruity nose to it, but just a very low burn to it, considering that it is 100 proof. I really expected it. Usually with bonded whiskeys, I expect to feel a little bit more heat of that whiskey, but I did not get that. And I'm gonna have to give this sucker a 4.
Wow,
it's almost like you're getting paid to drink at $14 a bottle.
Let's keep the secret to ourselves. Pour me another. Very interesting. Wow. Never thought we'd hear that number. Walking into this show. So that's great. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Jason, any other quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm normally not a huge Heaven Hill whiskey fan, and I will have to say that I actually kind of enjoy this whiskey. I think that it's extremely well balanced. I think it's got a lot of creaminess to it. I think it doesn't taste like a Heaven Hill whiskey to me. It almost tastes like a Buffalo Trace whiskey. And I gave this just a solid 3. I mean, this is a solid 3. I mean, You cannot beat this for the price. I mean, it's a solid pour.
Yeah, and that was my same rating as well. Well, cool. How about that? Well, up next is going to be Henry McKenna's 10-year single barrel bottle and bond. Again, this is another product from Heaven Hill. Another offering from Heaven Hill, this single barrel bonded bourbon is aged for 10 years and is named actually after Henry McKenna, a legendary distiller who opened his distillery in 1855. The mash bill on this is 78% corn, 12% barley, 10% rye, and Jason and I are both going to cover this. Jason, your tasting notes here on the Henry McKenna 10.
All right, so I have tried to like this product for years. I really have. I have tried so hard because people come to me all the time.
They're like, water?
People come to me and they're like, "Oh, have you tried that barrel of Henry McKenna at the store? It's so good." I'm not a fan. To me, it's over oaked. It's very woody. I lose a lot of the corn. I lose a lot of the grain. I think the finish of it is almost like a little metallic for some reason. I don't know if it's just me, but looking at the notes of the recipes, I mean, this is the exact same recipe as the Heaven Hill White Label. I prefer the White Label over the Henry McKenna. And so I gave this a sips rating of a 2.
Well, isn't that nice?
Nice, but what else do you have? Well, my own tasting notes here on Henry McKenna 10. Wow, even have fewer words to write about this one. Sweet and smoky were the words that I wrote down. I just I can't say that this was probably one of my favorite in the flight as well. My sips rating for this is a 3.
Interesting.
So I was curious if anybody knows, when did Heaven Hill pick up the Henry McKenna product? Did they always have it, or did they acquire it? Is it a long time ago, or
years? I couldn't tell you exactly when they got it, but it's been around for a while.
I want to say that they've had it for at least 50 years, so it's always kind of been part of the Heaven Hill family.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Anyway, Stump the Chump. Wow,
I got to Google something now.
I know. I can't believe I did that. I just did it in real time, too. Well, that never happens. What's Henry McKenna's shoe size?
Obviously a 7.5.
Yeah. I can't believe I did that today. Well, we have some more great products to talk about here. Up next is going to be Old Forester 1897 Bottle and Bond from Brown Foreman. And here is a brief description on that product. It's part of the Old Forester Whiskey Rose series. The name of Old Forester 1897 is a reference back to the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897. The mash bill on this product is 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% barley. And Sparky and Bob are going to review this product. Up first is Bob.
Well, it's got a good note. It's got a floral nose, a good bit of oak to it on the nose. On the palate, I'm getting caramel, a little bit of honey. It's got a nice coating mouthfeel. Overall, a solid offering. I'd give it a 3.
Wow, how about that, a 3?
Interesting.
Sparky, what do you think about Old Forester 1897?
Bob, are you sure you didn't taste any seaweed in there?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. No, I thought it was, not as spicy as I expected with that amount of rye in it. Definitely got tons of wood on the nose and in the taste. I would have to give it a 3 overall.
Wow, how about that?
Interesting.
With him, you would expect it to have more spice, but it's fairly muted.
We have a little bit more time for Jason and I to cover this as well. So, this is the first time. Sorry, I clear my throat. So this is the first time I wrote down the word sweet and wood. It's kind of thick and spicy around this as well. I don't know. I think my mind was set when you said the word Old Forester. I just had a very, very specific, tasting profile that just kind of entered really quick. And this is not like a lot of the other Old Forester products.
Like birthday bourbon or
yeah,
anything?
it's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close to any of those. And I can see, a lot of confusion would set in for the average consumer. They're like, oh, this is a different version of the Old Forester that I would tend to like. Anyway, my sips rating for the Bottle and Bond here is actually a 3.
Interesting.
What do you think about this, Jason?
I'm with you. I think it's a lot of wood. I get very little of the corn. I think it's a lot of that barley and rye. It's a little smoky, spicy finish.
Spicy.
I think that it's kind of a little rough on my palate. I think this is definitely inferior compared to pretty much all the other Old Foresters. I'd rather have almost all of them over this one. I gave this a sips rating of a 2.
Wow.
Well, isn't that nice?
Mr. Barrel Proof doesn't like all the barrel proof or the Bottle and Bond. It's
Yeah.
like the second
You need to add
tier.
like 20 more proof,
I know.
at least.
Yeah, this was a little bad.
Want to try a little water with that? Here, I'll pass this over to you.
Full of minerals.
Yeah.
I'll have
Straight
some
from the Kentucky
I'll
highlands.
have some water with my Old Forester 1897. Hold the 1897, please.
Wow. Interesting. Huh. Well. Yeah, these are very interesting, very different than a lot of the other things we've had on the show, that's for sure. Well, up next is going to be Old Tub. This is a bottled and bond product from Jim Beam, and here's a quick description of that. The current Jim Beam distillery was formerly known as the Old Tub Distillery, and Old Tub was their flagship brand. This bottling is actually available only at the gift shop and at the distillery, or as Sparky said, with a wink and a nod to the right person, you can find this as well. And Jason and I are going to cover this as well. Jason, what do you think about Old Tub?
It's interesting. I got a lot of grassy notes to it. That's what I got. I looked it up after I tasted it. It says it's a 4-year-old whiskey. So it's young to me. I think it's grassy. I think you can taste a lot of that grassy note to me comes from rye in the whiskey when it's not aged long enough. I think it's decent, but I think if this was to go another 2 to 4 years, I think it could be borderline good to great. I think right now it's just too young. I gave it a sips rating of a 3.
So you prefer really Old Tub is what you're saying.
I prefer really Old Tub.
Right on.
What? So I don't know. For some reason, was that the name of their the actual distillery vessel at Jim Beam?
I think it was the name of the distillery itself.
The distillery.
Tub Distillery.
Tub Distillery. Okay, because I know distillers, they tend to name like the vessel that they tend to distill
Spend
everything.
too much
in.
time with.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
too.
Yeah.
Some lonely nights.
Let me go hang out with Old Tub or Mary or
There was Old
Joseph.
Brand and Fitzgerald and old this and old that. So
Well, here's my own tasting notes around Old Tub from Jim Beam. This was the one product that I wrote down floral rather quickly, and that was kind of one of the more distinctive, products I think in the flight, that we had here. It was kind of a sweet floral, so maybe, I don't know, headed down the road of honeysuckle, but not maybe quite, arriving there. The key word I wrote down is this is not hot. And it's actually fairly easy drinking. So, it's probably one of the more approachable products, in the whole flight here. This is probably one of the few products that had just a slightly lighter color, to it as well. And still, I'm going to stick with the same sips rating, a 3 for this as well.
Interesting.
Interesting. What was that again? Sparky, what do you think about the Old Tub here from Jim Beam?
I thought it was a little bit disappointing. I thought it was a little. Yeah, I thought ultimately, I was kidding around about Old Tub. I was thinking that it must have been concocted in a really old tub somewhere, just an antique.
Well,
Thank you for playing, though.
Yeah, thank you.
well, I will tell you. So I looked up a little bit about Old Tub while we were tasting, and that's where I got the
Did you
4
use the
years.
interwebs?
I used interwebs.
Excellent.
And apparently, it's kind of a throwback to before Prohibition. People would bring their own jugs to fill up their whiskey, and that's like, I guess, another nickname tub came from. Who
Can
knows?
we still do that?
I wish, right?
Dang it.
That would be cool.
Just don't get caught.
Thanks to the man.
Growler fills of
shutting
whiskey.
us
That'll
down.
work.
Heck yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, my wife
Can
would
I
never
get a
see me again.
crowler of whiskey, please?
Yeah, please. I like that plan.
Honest officer, this is just a can. What's the worst that could happen?
I'm willing
here?
to take up the legal fight for this. It'll work. Yes.
But no, I think that was my second least favorite of the 6. But I mean, it was really weird. I didn't really taste the grassiness until after Jason said that. I tried it again, and yeah, it was like sucking on my lawnmower after good
Fresh cut grass.
Exactly, totally. But yeah, that was the long and short of mine. Although I am all for the return of the crowler full of whiskey or growler fills of whiskey if they want to bring that back.
You can fill up my bathtub anytime with whiskey you ever want.
I will sign up for that deal. There's a Groupon at Jim Beam for growler fills of whiskey. Color me there. Does Groupon still exist? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But if it's only good for people that are missing 3 or 4 teeth at Jim Beam Distillery.
Have you been to Kentucky recently?
Yeah, I know. It's what I'm saying.
Oh, wait a second. Will that get us banned in Kentucky?
It would be. That is correct. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And once again,
Here we are. We've banned ourselves. Okay, so I can't. We're not going to ban ourselves from all of Kentucky.
Kentucky is a wonderful state full of
Just like
wonderful
that
people.
one little part of Kentucky, So yeah. Bob, I'm curious what you thought about Old Tub here.
Again, grassy. I got hints of banana on the nose, very, very light. A little bit of toffee, a little bit of butterscotch. On the palate, there's some pepper and some spice and just the faintest bit of fruit. I think with another 2 to 4 years worth of age, it might really open up and turn into something a lot better. I mean, I gave it a 2.
Well, isn't that nice?
I wouldn't mind having a tub full of it. I'll take whatever I can get. So actually, when I bought this bottle, when I was at the distillery, I was going on a tour and wandering around. I went through one closet and they showed me a bottle they sell in Australia. It's a 4.5 liter handle.
Wow.
I saw that bottle. I wanted that bottle so bad.
You coveted it.
I did.
Yeah. I think the summation of
the
this
size
is
of
that
one
really
carat
old
glass.
tub really needs to happen. Really old tub. That's a
Yeah.
thing. And a
Really old
tub-sized
tub,
jug.
4.5 liter jug. I mean, damn.
Sold.
I really wanted that big bottle too. It's so big.
A 4-liter bottle with a handle for whiskey.
It's huge.
Oh,
It
my
has something
goodness.
to do with the way taxes work in Australia, that you pay more. By putting it in a bigger bottle, you save money on the tax. So
I think it was Germany also, because I think it was one other country. I think it was Australia and Germany. Maybe they
There's
sold
definitely
that.
other countries that do that, yeah.
So they
it's-
tax on the transaction event as opposed to
and
the
you just look
volume.
at it and guys will stand there and just stare like the monkey looking at the obelisk in 2001, just going.
I think a little bit of it probably comes. Australia was originally a penal colony. You throw in 4.5 liters of booze, that could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, you got to watch it. We don't want to get banned in Australia also.
It's already happened. I'm sorry. I ruined everything.
All right, so the question before the break is, what whiskey would you rather have in very large volume like that, other than this one?
Whatever I can get.
I really have
Of what
to agree with
we
that.
tasted today, or do I get
I'm
I get a 4.5 liter of Weller 12? and I
Yeah,
get to
sure,
run home?
that's true. Yeah, if that's your pick. Yeah, so Weller 12, 4-liter of Weller 12 with a handle.
I'm just saying, I get to enjoy that with some friends for a long time.
I mean, that'd be a
weekend.
couple of weeks.
I was about to say a weekend.
But I just want to up the ante. Can't we
How
just
many
take a
friends
whole
do you
barrel
need?
home? I mean, come on.
Are you bogarting that barrel?
Yeah, just put the spigot in it and go to town.
I like this. A rye head actually picks a weeder. All right, so... all right, Sparky. So what would you pick as what you would fill a 4-liter jug of?
I mean, of anything?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I kind of like, I mean, honestly, Pappy 15. I think I would.
Really?
I would.
Oh, that'd be a good
Wow.
jug.
Yeah, just.
That'd be a pretty good jug.
We love you,
I mean-
but it's
Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, denied.
Yeah.
Wait, don't-
Fireball whiskey. Has anybody heard of that stuff?
There we go.
Hey, there we go. There we go. There we go. I like that.
It's moving in the right direction, man.
It might eat through the 4.5 liter.
Wow, Pappy
container
15.
before it.
You giant marketing suck up, you.
Well, I couldn't say a 4.5 liter of Stag, or else I'd be dead because I would have drank the whole damn thing.
That's true.
You can feel
yeah.
your liver after a third of it.
So you're saying
You have enamel left on your teeth.
so you're saying Weller helps you do it with friends. Stag, you'd be the guy in the corner going,
With a straw. Yeah.
yeah, right.
That comes with a free eulogy, actually.
Good
That's
day,
the thing.
good day, mate. Where are we?
Does the jug come with a sippy straw?
I don't know where he's from, but he's pretty well off, eh?
That ain't a knife. This
Yeah.
is a sippy straw.
It's a sippy straw. So, Bob, how about you? What would you fill a 4-liter jug with?
Pappy 23, and then I'd sell it. I'd buy.
Oh, a total sellout! Oh my goodness, man!
have money left over. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can buy them with those new artificial livers
Nope.
they're cooking up in
Nope.
China right now.
I'm going to change the exercise on the fly. You have to consume it. So, what's it going to be?
Oh, Stag.
Stag. Oh, well, he picked Stag.
If I'm going down, I'm going
I don't
down
want to
good.
live. You want to live forever? Come on.
Wow.
It's really overrated. I traded mine in college for beer money, but that's what's made.
Wow. Really tough choice here. I'm like, wow, it's like 2 or 3 things playing through. 4 liters, man. That's the thing. I can think of a couple
That's
of
metric, man.
I think so. If it was just like a 2 liters, I probably go with like an Aberlour 30, or I might go with a Macallan 28 or 30. I'd be going down the Scotch. But 4 liters, I like that. The Weller plan is working pretty well.
You could share it with friends.
Come to the dark side.
Yeah, come to the dark side, he says. I agree. I would be headed to the land of Willet. I'd probably be probably for a 4 liter. I'd actually go for a Willet 11 year.
I was going to say, don't pick one of those 20s because that's
I'm
pretty
not,
much the
no.
whole barrel is a 4 liter.
Well, that would be like half the GDP for Kentucky. For 4 liters.
So I'm told that 4.5 liter bottle comes with its own dolly built into it. Is that true? Just you wheel it around like a suitcase?
No, it comes with a wheelbarrow so that you can roll around
Even
after
better
your hand.
afterwards. Fantastic.
Little guy named Ito or something. Just to pull it around or something.
Odd job.
Yeah, there you go.
On that bottle, looks like those little Dixie cups you get at the dentist office. It's like that big. I think it's just
I've learned something new about all of you, and I don't know if it's a good thing.
The sad thing is you can never unlearn it. That's
I
the
agree.
bad part.
I agree. Well, listen, we're going to take another quick break here. We're going to come back. We got one more product to talk about today, and probably some more conversation about Bottle and Bond in general. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. We're not talking about anything about your kid and bullying today here on Sips, Suds, and Smokes, that's for sure. I mean, seriously, how would you write out that whole script? I mean, you'd have to talk about people that pissed off my kids, tossing, red blocks at them, yellow blocks at them.
I think people get offended way too easily nowadays, I think. And so probably that falls into the bullying category.
We should talk about that on the radio, with whiskey.
I think we just solved America's problems.
You're not even allowed to play dodgeball anymore.
If you can dodge a ball, you can dodge a wrench.
I'm just saying.
That sounds like a cool T-shirt. What's your name? Didn't duck.
Dodge, duck, and dip. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming back and joining us here on Sips, Suds, and Smokes. Today we're talking about Bottled and Bond, which is a style of whiskey across several different distilleries that we're tasting for today. We've gone through 5 different products. We have one more to talk about, as well as a little bit of a general discussion on Bottled and Bond in general. Up next is going to be E.H. Taylor's Small Batch Bottled and Bond from Buffalo Trace. Here is a quick description on this product. This is a product from Buffalo Trace Distillery named after Colonel E.H. Taylor, who was instrumental in getting the 1897 Bottled and Bond Act passed. The name is also fitting in that Colonel Taylor once owned the Old Fire Copper Distillery, which is now known by its current name, which is Buffalo Trace. This is the Buffalo Trace mash bill number 1, which is actually 70% corn. I'm sorry, 75% corn, 10% rye, and 15% barley. We're all going to rate this product. Let's just go here in order. Up first is going to be Jason.
All right, so E.H. Taylor is my favorite of the Bottled and Bond line. And this is the entry into the E.H. Taylor line. And I will tell you that, you know, when I taste things, I like to write down words that come to mind as I'm tasting. And, you know, looking over my notes, it's just mellow, it's sweet, it's light, it's creamy, it's got a spicy finish. I gave it a sips rating of 4. I think it's a solid pour and very approachable. And like I said, my favorite line from Buffalo Trace right now.
That's classified.
Bloody favoritism!
Yes, it was bloody favoritism, as you just gushed about it so much. And you heard the word Buffalo Trace, you started to blush, and you went, oh yeah, I don't know what's in these other glasses that we're tasting, but that's totally it.
Hey, I'm just saying, when you make the best stuff.
All right. Well, up next, let's go with good old boy Sparky here.
So I was expecting, when I saw the lineup of whiskeys, I thought that this was going to be my favorite, and I still stand by. I think I like the white label a little bit more, just because it was a little bit more interesting for me. But this was definitely my number 2 overall. It was, just the darkness that I expect from this line, almost like a cherry color. And then on the nose, you just got spiciness for a long, long time, which is surprising given how much rye is in it. And on the palate, it just, again, you tasted more of the rye and the spiciness than you would expect, given the mash bill on it. And I'm kind of like on the borderline between an upper 3 and a lower 4 on this. Okay, it comes in beautiful packaging, so I'm going to go and give it a low 4 on that.
Again as well. How about that?
But definitely a fantastic product, and just really no vanilla at all. It's just really a lot of spiciness and complexity.
Cool. Bob, what do you think about E.H. Taylor's Small Batch Bottled and Bond?
Well, I'm thinking my grandfather's whiskey in a fancy package, and somebody might like it. On the nose, definitely a spice, butterscotch, a little bit of clove, a little bit of green apple in the back. On the palate, caramel spice comes through. The rye definitely comes through on this. Dried fruit, vanilla, a little bit of hot cinnamon and toffee in the back. A little bit of water tends to take a little bit of the heat down and opens up the cinnamon and the vanilla a lot. Very solid whiskey. I give it a 4.
A 4 as well.
That's
How about
classified.
that? Well, my own tasting notes here on E.H. Taylor Small Batch Bottled and Bond. I wrote down it was the sweetest of the whole flight. There was kind of a floral component that was around this. I could tell Jason's right on. This was kind of headed down a lot of other very similar products, for Buffalo Trace. There were some things even in the experimental series, I thought were kind of headed down a little bit of some of this path as well. Really good. I enjoyed this. This was, I don't know if this is my favorite of the flight, but It was a really great product. My SIPS rating for E.H. Taylor Small Batch is 4 as well.
That's classified.
So I got to ask a couple of questions about this. So I love the one question that came about while we were tasting this was, are all of the E.H. Taylors bottled and bond? And Jason said emphatically,
Yes.
well, the reason why I was a little confused is because I have several of the E.H. Taylors, and I have them all. All the ones I have are barrel proof. So yeah,
proof and bond, but
yeah. So it's a little confusing because I think that most people would think, after listening to the show, that bottle and bond means it's all at 100 proof, because that was the lead-in intro that you had. So is it at least 100 proof, or is it always at 100 proof? Think about it.
Bob, I might have to turn to you for a little bit of help on that one. I mean, I always assumed that bottled and bond meant that it was 100 proof at least. But all the ones I'm thinking of are always exactly at 100 proof.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've always understood bottled and bond to mean. Is
I'm going to have to pull up a picture of the cash strength now, because all the packaging says bottled and bond, but maybe the barrel proof doesn't.
By the way, isn't the federally bonded warehouse or government supervision thing, it's like total...
Well, so...
No, now back in the day it was not.
No, back in the day it was absolutely not, but
I mean it was literally like a government agent came to the distillery and they turned a key at the same time, like they were at a missile silo.
But
the government man had a key, and both of them were required to open the locks to get in.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
So let me tell you a little bit of my neophyte understanding of some of these products walking in was that I thought that the whole concept of bottled and bond was a matter of tracking taxation. And it was a matter of where you put a certain product in a barrel, it was at a certain proof, and they taxed it at that level, and it was actually taxed in advance. And part of what changed this around was actually moving the cycle of taxation. So up until then, what it was is things were taxed on the back end because you would make the product and it was taxed at the point that it was bottled and distributed, as opposed to the point that it was produced and stuck in a cask. So part of this was about accelerating some of the cash flow for Uncle Sam, and that was the whole concept why the whole thing was in lockdown. Because basically the tax had been paid on it, and they did not want anyone interfering, with the product and saying, well, this stuff has been taxed and this hasn't been over here. Part of it was also a bit of a product control, component, that was coming into play as well. I mean, am I even close to the real story?
Well,
or
usually bonded warehouses mean that they haven't paid tax yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So, as a distributor, if you have a bonded warehouse, that means that you don't pay tax until it leaves the warehouse, whereas if you're just a regular warehouse, you pay tax upon receipt of the product.
Okay.
The government doesn't care what you do with it. They've already got their share.
Exactly.
So there's no point in locking it down and holding on to it and maintaining control if they've already...
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
So the government agent at the bonded warehouse, they would make sure nobody was taking the product out, basically, and selling it without paying
on
tax.
The side without getting their cut. Yeah.
And I will tell you, I did a quick minute of research, and it looks like 100 proof is bottled and bond. Anything above that, they remove the bottled and bond. So it is 100 proof. The E.H. Taylor barrel proof is not bottled and bond.
Huh. So, Mr. Wizard, do you want to go back and revise and amend your statement? Is all E.H. Colonel Taylor bottled and bond?
I started that, so...
I mean, I would just have assumed,
to go drag a bottle up here?
I mean,
I think it has that stamp.
You know what? I do think you need to drag a bottle up here. We might need to taste that just to see if it's bottled and bond.
I can see that was happening. I just fell right into that trap. That's for sure. Wow.
I mean, I went through my stack, and that's why I took the small batch, because when I looked at the barrel proof, I went, I thought that was, but that's not. This one is. Let me get this one. I thought the same thing. I thought they were all bonded.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask somebody a pretty important question tomorrow. I'll find out exactly what bottled and bond if you can go above 100 proof, because I feel like you should be able to, because it doesn't make sense.
Minimum guarantee.
I would assume that it's a minimum quality. You know, bottled and bond. If it's 8 years old, it's still bottled and bond. It doesn't have to be 4. So I'm going to find that out. It's interesting.
Some of the government is logical.
Yeah, I know. That's a pretty big leap right there to make.
And the liquor laws are logical. Whoa.
Liquor plus government equals
tax.
Splat.
Tax.
Yeah, I'm thinking T-shirts, bottled and bond, the ultimate movement of freedom, not taxed, just represented. So,
but
tax the whiskey to pay off the Revolutionary War debt. So
Yep. Good old boy, Mike. We're here to discuss your, that moment. Although the income from those T-shirts, we'll take half.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Well, so we have a couple more minutes here. So we as we kind of went along, we kind of peppered a little bit about things that we enjoyed about this flight, and so I'm kind of curious where some things kind of stacked up, for you in the entire flight. I'll go first while you guys are thinking about the question. So I actually admitted, kind of up front, that actually the E.H. Taylor Small Batch was actually my favorite of the flight. I'd have to say number 2, for me, was actually the Old Tub. I think probably what struck me between those two was the floral component and the bit of the sweetness. I thought had some unique element. The other 3 that were in the flight, they had a lot of similarity, for me. I just, that's probably, if I had blind tasted, all 5 of these, I know that I probably would have picked the E.H. Taylor. Definitely as my top pick, even not knowing that it was from Buffalo Trace. So,
you mean all 6 of these?
All 6 of these. What did I say? 5. I'm sorry. So, the same order, Jason. How did things come out for you from the whole flight?
I mean, the E.H. Taylor, when I saw the name, I knew exactly out of the list which ones I was
going to like. You said that in advance, too.
Yeah,
I like that. Before we even poured like one drop.
I was like, yeah, this one's going to be the best one. But,
Wait a second. It's...
Bloody favoritism!
Yes, it is bloody favoritism. Yes.
It's true.
It's just they make good whiskey. But more importantly, so the Old Tub was interesting. I do think it was young. The shocker to me, though, was the Heaven Hill 6-year-old. I was shocked. And I'm when I say shocked, I'm talking like really, really shocked, because I normally do not enjoy Heaven Hill whiskey. The only stuff I've ever enjoyed has been either the really, really hard to get allocated stuff, or stuff in which somebody purchased from Heaven Hill and then aged it themselves or did something to it to kind of drastically change it. But I was shocked by this 6-year-old. I mean, I think that's pretty darn good whiskey.
Interesting. Sparky, what do you think about the whole flight?
I have to second Jason. I was really surprised by the Heaven Hill. I'm pretty familiar with most bonded whiskeys because I tend to make a lot of cocktails, and that tends to be a major component of a lot of the stuff that I do. But Heaven Hill was just a nice surprise. I think I'm going to have to sneak over the border and snag some of that first chance I get. And obviously the E.H. Taylor makes just a fantastic product. I think out of all the things, my least favorite was definitely the Henry McKenna 10-year-old. I think my tasting notes, wait a second, I'm reading it right here. It says nope. Yes. That's what I wrote down.
And yet nothing got a 1 in here. You could have...
No. Yeah. I was being generous.
Okay.
That was 10 years of futility, but they get 1 extra number for that. But no, I think for me, at least number 1...
mercy rating.
It was. It's mercy. But the Heaven Hill was definitely number 1 for me. E.H. Taylor's number 2. And we shall not speak of what happened 10 years ago for Henry McKenna. So.
Well, it just goes to show you age doesn't necessarily mean quality.
No, that's a great
lot
point.
A lot
really
of people really do. They're like, oh, man, you know that Henry McKenna, it's 10 years old and such a great price. And I tried, I'm like, yeah, no. This is not good.
No, we've been fooled like that all too often, and definitely with some of the blind tasting shows that we'll have coming up, where the one is, ooh, I love this show, Guess My Age.
Oh,
man. Ooh, that'll be fun, won't it?
Oh, man.
Bob, what do you think about what'd you think about your favorite thing in the flight?
My favorite was the H. Taylor. It's one that I like. It's one that I drink quite often. But when I was putting these together for the show, I purposely put the White Label 6-year-old bottled and bond in here because that is one that a lot of guys I know up in Kentucky turned me on 2 years ago. There's a reason it's only available there. They keep a lot of the good stuff, at home. It's some of the best wines in Australia never leave Australia. They're not dumb.
True.
Same thing in Kentucky. That one is. It's a stellar whiskey, and when you see the price that it costs, it elevates it a whole nother point. I mean, it's a great whiskey on its own. When you realize that you can buy, 3 or 4 bottles for what it costs for some of the others, it's remarkable. They do a great job with that. The Old Tub, it's interesting. I'd like to see what it would happen if they gave it some more time. I don't know which direction it would go. If I'd like it more, I'd like it less. And the Henry McKenna, I don't know. Maybe I'm different. I liked it. I thought it was a decent pour. I've had it many times and I've enjoyed it. But price wise, you can't beat the Heaven Hill 6-year. It's just a great whiskey for the money.
Bob, have you ever known anybody do a barrel of the 6-year-old?
Not that I know of, no.
I'm very interested to see what this tastes like at cast strength. I think this could be a really, really good pour at cast strength.
Years ago, somebody told me when I was up there, they said, come here, kid, you want something good? Try this one. I'm like, really? It's how much? Just shut up and buy this and take it home with you. And I opened it up and I went, oh, dear God, I can't get back to Kentucky fast enough. And when I go, everybody is, going from store to store, distillery to distillery, spending huge sums of money and trying to smuggle back, various bottles in their luggage. And when I go, first thing I do is pick up 2 or 3 bottles of this. We actually had a Heaven Hill tasting at the Fort Lauderdale Whiskey Society a couple months ago. And again, you can't get this down here. That's Kentucky only. So when I brought it out and put it on the table with the lady that runs Heaven Hill here in Florida, even she was like, what is that? I haven't seen it. And with the full range of products there, that one got as many good reviews as anything else on the table, and it was probably the cheapest thing on the table. It was cheaper than mellow corn. Everybody's like, my God, this is great. Yeah, I know. Where can I get this? Louisville.
Well, it just, every distillery has a sweet spot for age, recipe, and barrel house, and I just really think that Heaven Hill's sweet spot is probably in that 6 to 8. I think when it gets over that, it's just over oaked. It's too woody for them.
And a barrel strength version of that, I think, would just be absolutely awesome.
I'm going to try to make a phone call.
Well, a really great episode for today. Let's wrap things up for our episode on Bottle and Bond. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online as well on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sip Sud Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store. We love your feedback as well. You can actually reach us online at info@SipSudSmokes. You can actually reach all of our hosts as well. You can reach Jason at Jason@SipSudSmokes, Sparky at SipSudSmokes, and Made Man Bob at SipSudSmokes. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every single day. You can see our handle on there at SipSudSmoke, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. Do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a great big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Well, I definitely want to thank Bob for joining us from the Bourbon Mafia. Bob, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Bourbon Mafia?
The Bourbon Mafia is a nonprofit organization composed of high-end bourbon enthusiasts and members of the spirits and service industry with representation in 10 states. The group raises money for local and national charities through rare bottle auctions and other bourbon-themed events. Great group of guys.
Bob, definitely thank you for joining us for this episode.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Good old boy Jason, thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
And good old boy Sparky, thank you for joining us.
Anytime, Mike. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, listen, this is good old boy Mike asking you to join us once again and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.